calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
say, folks, good to see you again. Welcome back, and welcome to the new week here on a Monday, April 11. Can you believe it? Great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Hope you had a good weekend. And we got lots to talk about today, indeed, on the 2016 front. You know, we're coming to you, of course, on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. On the 2016 front, again, two big wins over the weekend. Ted Cruz romping through Colorado, taking up all 34 delegates, leaving Donald Trump with a big goose egg in Colorado. And on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders winning his 8th out of the last 9 contests. No doubt where the momentum is on the Democratic side. Bernie Sanders beating Hillary Clinton in Wyoming by a margin of 56-44. All eyes now on New York, where the two Democratic candidates will meet on stage Thursday evening, which should be a very lively debate. And, of course, next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, April 19, is the big New York primary, where Hillary Clinton, as of today, has about a 14, 15-point lead in the polls over Bernie Sanders. Both candidates working hard in that state. Meanwhile, North Carolina, Bruce Springsteen says, how can I possibly perform in a state that is so discriminatory against LGBT people? And he canceled his concert scheduled for Greensboro yesterday, which has made a lot of North Carolinians ashamed, even more ashamed of their state. Lots to talk about. We're just getting started. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
enough,
Enough.
enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Bernie makes it 8 out of the last 9 contests, winning Wyoming. The Wyoming caucuses by 14 points on Saturday. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It's me, and I'm back. Good to be with you, The Bill Press Show, and this is me, Bill Press. Back from Santa Fe and California. And just taking the temperature out there for the next big, after New York, the next great big one, the biggest of all. The big prize, of course, will be the California primary on June 7. People in California are excited because it looks like this year, for the first time in a long time, maybe forever, the California Democratic primary will actually mean something. Looks like it may not be decided before June 7. And again, people out there very excited. Good to be back with you today here in our studio on Capitol Hill. And a big thanks to Sabrina Siddiqui and to Jimmy Williams and to our own Peter Ogburn for keeping the Bill Press ship afloat while I was off on a few little book events for my new book, Buyer's Remorse. Great to see you this Monday. Hope you had a good weekend and are ready to jump with both feet into the news of the day. That's what we do, of course, here on the Bill Press Show. Talk about the news of the day, tell you what's going on any front here in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe. And, of course, open up the phones and the social media so that you can comment on all of the above. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Look forward to hearing from you. And, of course, you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Let me see if I can remember everybody's name. Yeah. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, hello.
Hello, Bill.
Good morning, Bill.
Everything good?
Yes, sir. Happy Monday. Welcome back.
Do you miss me?
Of course.
Yeah, right.
Of course.
Friday was a little tough. I had to deal with Peter, one-on-one. So.
Oh, my. The question is, how much alcohol did you have in here on Friday?
Well, we didn't have any. Not that we didn't bring in ourselves.
On the air.
Not more than we normally drink.
Not the six-pack I usually keep under the board here.
Yeah, we didn't have anything.
Yeah. Oh, no. Really?
Yeah.
How boring.
Look how excited you are.
How did you make it into the weekend?
I know.
Yeah. Ray Rogers here to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Of course, keep those phones ringing. And we saw Cyprian a little earlier, and now it's Monty Kensler in charge of the video stream, doing a good job as always. These days are the thing about Saturday Night Live. They don't have to prepare. They don't have to look for material. I mean, it just falls from the sky these days.
It really does.
And they make the most of it. I mean, Hillary trying to swipe her card to get into the subway in New York. Over and over and over, like George W. Bush with a scanner at the grocery store. They had to do that, and then of course Bernie Sanders back in New York, and Al Sharpton comes in. Al Sharpton playing himself, and I forget who it is that plays Al Sharpton on the show.
Kenan Thompson.
Kenan Thompson, right? Just a wicked Al Sharpton. So the two of them are talking about race on the Democratic side and who may be the most racially sensitive, if you will.
Senator Sanders gets a score of 6.3. Yes, he was active in the civil rights movement, but for some reason he seems like the kind of person who still calls Muhammad Ali Cassius.
Absolutely. Also, he's from Vermont. It's a beautiful state,
but never has a black person said, hey, I got time off this weekend. Anybody want to go to Vermont?
At any rate, there they are. Saturday Night Live. It was fun. It was fun.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Elias Isquith will be joining us. He's no longer with Salon. He's with Cafe.com, joining us with his take on the news of the day toward the end of the hour. And then we'll have reporters in from National Journal and Daily Beast. And big news in North Carolina. The boss says, I want nothing to do with discrimination in North Carolina. Pulls out of a big concert. Did he do the right thing? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Peter.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Did you know that April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month? We all knew that, right? So
no, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I know because of this story. Erie Insurance actually did a study to find out where there are more distracted drivers on the road, and the way they did it really will make your head hurt, because what they did is they just looked for the hashtag while driving. Hashtag while driving.
Yeah.
So people will post a photo and say, here's a little shot of me, hashtag while driving. So they're taking photos of themselves while they're driving and then uploading it to Twitter and Facebook and all of that.
How dumb.
Exactly. It is pretty stupid. So where is the most distracted driving taking place? Number one on the list?
New York.
New York is in the top 5. It's actually number 5. Number 1 is Texas. Texas is number 1. Number 2 is California, then Florida, and then South Carolina, and then New York. That is the top 5. Don't text and drive.
No.
Don't tweet and drive. Don't do any of that stuff and drive. Remember the good old days when all we had to worry about was the hands-free cell phone technology?
Yeah, right.
Now we have to worry about all that other stuff. So.
I was coming in from the airport last night, and I saw a sign, one of those electronic signs that said, you, the letter U, right?
Mm-hmm.
You drive, you text, you pay.
Yeah. Yeah, you get busted for that.
Right to the point.
Well,
totally get busted
you could
for
pay
that.
in more ways than one.
That's true. That's absolutely true. You know, they say it's a tradition unlike any other. The Masters took place over the weekend, Bill, and Jordan Spieth went into Sunday with a big lead. All he had to do was just keep it preserved. He did not do that. He completely fell apart on the back 9, meaning that your Masters champion is Danny Willett. Danny Willett.
A Brit.
A Brit, yeah, a Brit actually winning the Masters. Listen to this. Spieth goes to the 12th hole where he has a one-shot lead. Again, remember, he's just got to hang on to that lead.
Yeah.
He put 2 shots in the water and shot a quadruple bogey.
Oh, my God.
7 on a par 3.
God.
And he fell 3 shots behind and never actually recovered from that, meaning Danny Willett is your Masters champion. Danny Willett, by the way, wasn't even sure if he was going to be able to play this weekend because his wife was due to give birth on Sunday. But she gave birth on March 30th, so she wasn't able to come with him to Augusta. But he was able to go ahead and play. And not only did he play, he won. Congratulations to Danny Willett. And finally, in Texas, a man by the name of Jack Harry Smith was sentenced to die because of his role in killing a man in the Houston robbery back in 1978. He was put to death in a very, I'll put it this way. He died of natural causes after 38 years of waiting to be executed. That's how long it took for them to go through the appeals process and all that. So I guess the state did eventually put him to death. It just took him 38 years of him being behind bars before he died at the age of 78.
Yeah, another argument of why the death penalty is just crazy.
38 years.
Stupid. Yeah, 38 years. Imagine how much we have paid to keep that dude alive in that prison for 38 years, right?
The argument of it's cheaper to, or it's more costly, it's
it wasn't so much keeping him in prison that cost him. It's all the appeals and all the legal costs and everything over 38 years, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a penalty that makes no sense whatsoever. And there's more of the proof of it. Thank you, Peter. Yes, indeed. The big news out of North Carolina is silence. That's what they heard last night in Greensboro, North Carolina, instead of Bruce Springsteen. He was scheduled to play a big concert down there. It was sold out. And at the last minute, Bruce Springsteen and his band said, no way, we're not going to North Carolina. The state having passed that discriminatory bathroom law, as they're calling it. Mississippi has done the same thing, of course. And the opposition and the outrage is really building nationwide. This is the biggest expression of it. And the question I have to you is 866-55-PRESS. Did Bruce Springsteen do the right thing? Is that the way to protest HB2, or was it unfair to the citizens of North Carolina, many, many, many of whom, of course, disagree? I'll bet you if you put it to a vote, it would be almost a majority of the people of North Carolina who would say this is the wrong thing to do. But the legislature rushed it through, and Governor Pat McCrory signed it. Of course, it is now the law in North Carolina that you can only use the bathroom for the sex that is listed on your birth certificate. So that if you are a woman who is successfully transitioned into a man, or a man who has successfully transitioned into a woman, you have to use the bathroom of the sex you were born with, as if this is a huge problem in North Carolina or anywhere else. Did Bruce Springsteen do the right thing? 866-55-PRESS. I got to tell you, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely. And the only way this is going to turn around, the only way, but these bills, which have become law now in Mississippi and in North Carolina, there was a similar measure in Georgia, which the governor refused to sign, and mainly because so many businesses in Georgia, starting with Coca-Cola in Atlanta, said, this is a bad deal, and if you sign this, if you pass this bill and you sign it, we could pull out of Georgia, or at least we're not going to expand our operations in Georgia. And it's also pending in South Carolina, where the governor has said, no way, I'm not going to have anything to do with this law. So probably won't happen in South Carolina. Yeah. But these things, it's no accident. It's just not a coincidence. These bills, they're planned by the religious right, and this is another way they're trying to cloak their hatred, cloak their discrimination in the guise of their religious beliefs, as if the Gospels tell you anything about treating people like second-class citizens or not treating all people equally. If you read the Gospels, they actually preach just the opposite, and Jesus preached just the opposite. These people try to cloak their hatred, that's what it is, and discrimination in the name of their religion, and they're popping up all through the South, and they're going to continue. And I think it's important. I think Bruce Springsteen absolutely did the right thing. I think it's important that people, and particularly that businesses, because, you know, it's the economic lifeblood of these states that really keeps them going, that carries the most weight, that they speak up and they said, hell no, we're not going to go along with this.
And I know that there are a lot of people in North Carolina who hate this law.
Yes.
I think of Asheville, our good friends in Asheville, which is hardly any kind of conservative city.
No. Asheville is a great big blue dot in a purple sea.
Yeah, look, I mean, let's not forget, North Carolina voted for Barack Obama in 2008. I mean, and to think that we went from there to here in that short period of time, like, I know that it sucks, and I know that there are a lot of good people in North Carolina, but at the same time, these are your elected officials.
And I know there are a lot of Boss fans down there, right?
Sure.
Who paid their tickets, are really excited about it, looking forward to it. And in a sense, it is unfair that they're being penalized, they're being punished. But damn it, the governor and the state legislature have to realize there are consequences to this kind of hatred. This is it's undemocratic, it's unconstitutional, it's immoral, as far as I'm concerned, to say that anybody ought to be denied equal rights, anybody ought to be discriminated against, particularly in the name of religion, which is what makes it most offensive of all. And they've got to there's a price to be paid for this kind of discrimination.
You don't like it? do something about it.
Yeah, you don't like it?
Get more active.
Throw those bozos out of there and
Yeah.
start by impeaching the governor of North Carolina. Before we take a break, let's say a quick hello here. 866-55-PRESS. Did the boss do the right thing? John is in Highbridge, New Jersey.
Hey, all right.
His home
There you
state
go,
here.
yeah.
Yes. Hey, John.
Hi, how are you today?
All right, what do you think?
I'm not going to say he did the wrong thing, but he could have done a more effective thing.
Yeah, how?
Utilizing the concert as sort of a bully pulpit, where he could have gotten up there and said, out of respect to our fans here in North Carolina, we're going to do our show tonight. But I want everybody out there to get 5 of their friends to contact their congressman and shut down this crazy law.
That's a pretty good Bruce, by the way.
That is a great Bruce. Yeah. I hear you, John, and I would say that would have been another effective way to do it. You know?
Yes, but at the same time, the issue here is...
At the same time, they would have gotten the revenue.
That's what I was going to say. At the same time, when you spend money in North Carolina, that goes to fund this hate. We just took a road trip from D.C. to South Carolina, right? We drove this time. And we went all 180 miles of I-95 in North Carolina without spending a dime. We said, we're not spending a dime of our money in North Carolina. Because you spend money in North Carolina, it goes right back into the state that is is putting hate into law. You can't do that.
Yeah, you know, and so did Bruce do the right thing? 866-55-PRESS. And come to think of it, I'm scheduled to be in Asheville.
Oh, that's right.
On Friday.
That's right.
What do I do? 866-55-PRESS. There, I go to North Carolina. I better ask Bruce what the answer is. All right, we'll be right back. Doc.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yeah, here we go at 27 minutes after the hour. Ooh, my. We started out by saying, did Bruce Springsteen do the right thing in canceling his concert yesterday in Greensboro, North Carolina, in protest against HB2, the anti-discriminatory measure, the bathroom measure, passed by the North Carolina legislature. Now that's evolved into the question about, what the hell do I do? I'm supposed to be in Asheville. I got my ticket for a book event on buyer's remorse at the Merriman Avenue, on at any rate in Asheville. And by the way, Stephanie Miller's supposed to be there Saturday with John Fugelsang. Should we go to Asheville? 866-55-PRESS. Should anybody be spending any money in North Carolina? That's the compound question here. And Peter Ogburn, you said you drove through North Carolina?
Yeah.
Without stopping to
spend a couple weeks ago. We didn't
without stopping to spend a dime.
Didn't spend a dime in North Carolina the whole time we were there.
Right. And by the way, now in North Carolina, Starbucks is the latest, and there are now over 100 companies that have petitioned the governor, signed a letter to the governor, to the legislature saying, do the right thing, rescind this law, or else we're thinking we could be pulling out. They include Apple, Google, Barnes & Noble, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Hilton, American Airlines. Did Bruce Springsteen do the right thing? Should we go to Asheville? 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Here we go now, 34 minutes after the hour, taking a look at these discriminatory bathroom laws passed in North Carolina and in Mississippi. Similar legislation has popped up in Georgia, of course, where Governor Nathan Deal passed the legislature there. The governor refused to sign it. And in that state, it was Coca-Cola, plus some of the big banks that said, hey, we're going to think about packing up and moving out.
Movie studios, right? Like Atlanta,
movie studios,
Atlanta has courted movie producers and movie makers for a while now to try and get them to film in Atlanta. So, like Marvel, which is, they've got some of the biggest movies of all time under their belt. They have a studio that they use in Atlanta. They said, we'll pull out.
And now over 100 companies, including Starbucks, Apple, Twitter, all have threatened to pull out of North Carolina, or certainly petitioned the governor to reverse the law there. But similar measures are also pending in Missouri and in South Carolina. I mean, this is basically a wave of hatred that is sweeping the South, and they're trying to do it again, all in the name of religion. Bruce Springsteen yesterday said his way of protesting that was to cancel a concert scheduled for yesterday, sold out in Greensboro, North Carolina. And now we got the double question that with 880 The Revolution in Asheville, which is one of the most progressive cities on the planet, Stephanie Miller and John Fugelsang and I are all there for this big progressive. They're calling it the Progressive Tea Party Weekend. I'll be at Avenue M Friday night. Stephanie and John at a theater there in Asheville with their show Sexy Liberal on Saturday. Should we all go? 866-55-PRESS. Peter?
You're on Twitter. We are on Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show. To the caller that we had earlier that said that Bruce should have had the concert but then talked to his crowd, Jim weighs in and says the show cancellation has a much more immediate impact than preaching to the crowd. And GF Jacob says, Bill, you cannot go to North Carolina. Boycotting fully and making the state feel the impact is what these sanctions are all about.
All right. Jeff, out in Scottsdale, Arizona. Hey, Jeff, weigh in here. What do you think?
The Springsteen thing, I think he did the right thing because we're still talking about it in the news, where it wouldn't be in the news and nobody would really be talking about it other than the people that were there at the event.
That's a very good point. Very good point. Don't you think, Peter?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
The people there would remember what he said, but it would not be reported in the news. Would not be a news story. Yeah.
Right. But you guys have to go because you are going into the hub and talking to the people that will actually be able to make a difference. Where Springsteen was talking to a mass group, some would, some wouldn't. Some would yell Trump, some wouldn't. But you guys are going where there are people that will actually be able to make a difference. So you guys are, and I don't know if anybody will remember this, but you guys are like the little Stephen when he was boycotting apartheid in Sun City. You don't play Sun City, you put it in the news. This is exactly the same exact thing. You, Stephanie, John, you have to go out there and actually get people motivated to do something there. And you are going to be surrounded by people that will do something.
Oh, I got to tell you, if there's the heart of the hey, Jeff, that's an excellent call, excellent point. Thank you. If there's a heart of the opposition to HB2, it is Asheville, North Carolina.
Totally.
And you know my feeling about that. Well, we'll get some more advice here, but I mean, it would be, it would raise a lot of hell. It would make a lot of noise if the three of us just said we're going to follow Bruce, and not show up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
John, out in Minneapolis. Hey, John, what do you say?
Yeah, I think boycott, divestment, and solidarity are three concepts that we really, as Americans, need to use more of. I think, like, for instance, in France, if one union goes out on strike, everybody's out on the Champs-Élysées throwing themselves onto the street and just acting up.
Now, I love that. They have massive work stoppages. You're right, in terms of solidarity, right?
And, as the old union song says, solidarity forever, it really works. That's why they sing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has worked, and it certainly works in Europe. Hey, John, good to hear from you. There's one other thing about this law, just a little tangent here perhaps, but that I just never understand. I asked Igor about this, I remember, last week, is how can you possibly enforce this?
Yeah.
Here's what's so hypocritical to me about the people behind this. These are the very yahoos who say, government's a problem, right? We need less government, less and less government. We have to get the government off our backs. But these are the people who will put the government on the backs of anybody who disagrees with them, right? These are the people who want government. They want politicians, usually white males. They want judges on the Supreme Court. They want members of Congress to decide whether a woman has to carry a baby to term. They want them to be in charge of a woman's body. The government, not her, the government in charge of her body. such hypocrisy. It just contradicts everything they say they stand for. And here again, right, they say they want less government, get the government out of our lives, and yet what are they asking for here? They're asking for a cop at the door to every public restroom in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
How else are you going to enforce it?
Yeah, I don't know how you enforce that.
Right?
I don't know how you do it.
I mean, if there is someone who has transitioned, and let's face it, we're talking about people who have some very serious issues and problems, and they have resolved them. Not that it was easy, for sure, right? Some of them having surgery, some not. Not that this is very easy, but we're not talking about 10% of the population, right? I mean, this is not a rampant problem. And then again, if they have successfully transitioned, how do you know, right?
Yeah,
how do you know?
Breaking news, you, me, Ray, Jamie, Sip, everybody that was listening, you've probably already used the bathroom with a transgendered person.
Yeah, right.
And guess what? You survived.
So you're going to have to, and I'm telling you, you see some of these now men or some of these now women, right, who have trans people, you can't tell. I mean, you cannot. And so you're going to have to be there, and then everybody's going to have to carry their birth certificate around with them.
Right.
Right? All right. Okay, let's see. It says male. Yeah, you're allowed to go in here. Yeah. It is insane, totally insane, from a practical and from a moral point of view. And I would say from a constitutional point of view. Shirley is down in North Carolina. Hi, Shirley. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
All right, where are you in North Carolina?
I'm in a little town called Vanceport, North Carolina, close to New Bern.
All right.
Okay.
Do you know where that is, Peter?
I'm afraid I do not.
All right. Well, what do you think of this, Shirley?
Well, I don't think it's discrimination. I think that people are looking at it at the wrong viewpoint. I'm 77-year-old.
Uh-huh.
And I look at it this way: if they're not happy with it like that, then have another bathroom for the transgender people. Because as a woman, we were taught you don't put your little girls with men, and it don't matter what you got on your clothes. If you're a man, organ underneath, you would not want to send. If you've got little children or grandchildren, you would not want to send your child in the ladies' bathroom and it get raped because they thought it was a woman in there.
Oh boy.
Oh, Shirley, I guess thanks for calling, but, Shirley, come on.
You know what I think is highlighted there is a generational thing.
It is a generational thing. It ain't going to happen, Shirley. That's just a fear based on absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing but a lot of stereotypes. But let me just close by this. I'm going to go to Asheville. Okay.
All right.
And here's my thought about going to Asheville, because you know what my agenda going to Asheville is? My agenda going to Asheville is this. And I know I'll have a little Catholic guilt going down there. But my agenda is this. I want to go down and rally the people of Asheville to impeach this SOB, Pat McCrory.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, impeach the bastard.
Raise hell when you go down there.
Impeach him and repeal this law. And if not, secede from the state. I mean, Asheville just secede from North Carolina. Have the Republic of Asheville. But I just hope that Bruce Springsteen and that Steffi and I can raise enough hell this weekend that we can really overturn this thing. We'll talk more about it a little bit later on. Thanks so much for the calls, 866-55-PRESS. Come back with Elias Isquith from cafe.com.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
On a Monday, April 11, 12 minutes before the top of the hour now, before we jump up to Elias Isquith at cafe.com, get his take on the news of the day. One more call on what we've been talking about, these discriminatory so-called bathroom laws passed in North Carolina and in Mississippi. Jane calling from Pennsylvania. Hi, Jane.
Hey.
Thanks for your call. What do you think?
I think I'm transgendered, and tell Shirley in North Carolina that separate and equal didn't work for black people, and it shouldn't stand for trans people either.
Good for you.
There's no way they can enforce that law because when you transition, you get to change your birth certificate in most states.
Is that right?
Yep. And
I didn't realize that.
Go to North Carolina and you tell them what's right, because if we all run and hide, they're not going to know.
All right, Jane. All right. With that, with Jane's blessing, I'm going to go and carry the torch of impeachment.
This makes this thing even so sillier.
I didn't realize that. Think about that. Yeah. Here's my new birth certificate.
Right.
These idiots down there. They're an embarrassment to the human race, these legislators in North Carolina. Jesus, where'd they come from? All right. As we mentioned, Elias Isquith, new job, executive editor, cafe.com. Hey, Elias, congratulations. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, man. Thanks for that, and thanks for having me.
All right. So you cover all of the above at cafe.com. Is that it?
Yeah.
Everything's wide open?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like we try to do the news in kind of a funny way. And yeah, what I'm going to be doing there is a little different for me. I'm going to be doing a lot of editing, but also I'll still be doing freelancing, so people won't be deprived entirely of my hot takes.
Okay. Oh, well, that's a relief. All right, we'll send everybody to cafe.com. So what do you think? The Republicans, they thought, well, Jeb Bush was going to be their guy on the white horse. That didn't work. Now maybe Ted Cruz. No, that doesn't look so good. So Paul Ryan? He's running, isn't he?
It seems like it, or I mean, I don't know if your readers didn't see. I'm sure you guys were talking about this or saw it, the story in the Times this morning, where it suggests that he's running like a parallel campaign. It doesn't say this in the piece, but the subtext is sort of like he's expecting the Republicans to lose with Trump or Cruz either way, and he kind of wants to in his mind, preserve the brand, which I guess he thinks will be kind of embodied in himself. It's so strange because as I'm sure we all know, like, it's not like the pre-Trump Republican brand was sterling.
Yeah, yeah.
and the areas where according to the report, where Ryan is going to try to really draw a contrast with himself and either Trump or kind of a Trumpified Cruz are, for the most part, they're the areas where he's going to be pushing the party even further away from the rank and file. You know, it has to do with trade, apparently, immigration, and cutting Social Security. Those are the big things that apparently Paul Ryan wants to make sure, no matter what Donald Trump says, you know, you think of the Republican position as his position on these issues. Well, his position. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I find this whole little Ryan. First of all, to me, it's totally dishonest. He's running for. I think he's running for president the same way he ran for speaker. You know, no, don't. I will never take that job. I don't want that job. You know, boom, boom, boom.
Right. Oh, if you insist, I guess I'll be the most powerful person in the world.
And the other thing is, I've always felt him as a phony. I mean, he went around and did this whole poverty tour, and he puts out a budget that cut every single program that helps the poor or the middle class in this country.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Paul Ryan's he's not as good as he used to be because he ran, you know, in the 2012 campaign, the media started knowing he has a habit of lying.
Yeah,
but he's still a little. He definitely still has some hold on the press, and he's really good at selling himself. But there's always, there's not much underneath the surface.
And again, if you look at his policies, if you get beyond the pious rhetoric and look at really what he wants to do, it's just a disaster. Plus, and I made this point in a talk the other night. Doesn't anybody remember? He was a lousy candidate in 2012 as a vice presidential candidate. He brought nothing to the ticket. He's got
he managed to make. I'm sure people remember in his debates with Biden, for all the talk about him as being the youthful man of the future, Biden was the one who came off as energetic and engaged, and he got his clock clean pretty much. There's no reason to think that he's good at. As far as campaigning goes, if he's talking to the D.C. press, he's good at that. But that is far from the entirety of what it means to run for president. And as I agree with you, there's no sign that he's going to be great at the rest of it.
All right, just 30 seconds or so. Are we seeing the end of Donald Trump?
I think so, but gosh, who knows? It's just been such a bizarre campaign. It would be fitting, though, wouldn't it be, that once we all sort of make our peace with it, then it doesn't happen?
Perfectly fitting, right. Yeah. But it just does seem, even though he's got such a huge lead in New York, where I think his downfall is going to be the basic organizational skills, right, that his campaign doesn't have, and Ted Cruz does.
Yes.
In terms of delegate counting.
Yeah, and also he's got people who like him, but they're not people who've got experience doing this kind of mundane but vital political work that you're talking about. And I think we're seeing it with the Cruz campaign nabbing all of these delegates kind of right under Trump's nose.
Yeah. Right. And if they get to get to a brokered convention, it's not going to be bluster that wins. It's going to be organization. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's just well, again, congratulations, Elias. We'll find you at cafe.com.
All right, thanks.
Say hello to Carl Diggler for us.
Oh, I will.
Thanks,
All right, you got it. We'll be right back.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Betsy Woodruff from Daily Beast, top of the next hour. Another day, another endorsement. This time, an endorsement for Donald Trump from actress Kirstie Alley. She tweeted over the weekend, "Hello, boys. This is my formal endorsement of Donald Trump, and I'm a woman," last time I checked. She also voiced her support for Rudy Giuliani, who also announced that he was voting for Donald Trump in the New York primary. Rudy has said he didn't endorse Trump, but he said he's voting for Trump. In other words, he sort of endorsed Trump. And then Kirstie Alley sort of followed suit and said she loves both of them.
What's wrong with her?
I know.
You know? There's been something wrong with her.
She's
for
a Scientologist.
Oh, that explains
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
All right. Yes, indeed. Betsy Woodruff joining us at top of the next hour to talk 2016
This
and
is
beyond.
the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, make it 8 out of the last 9 for Bernie Sanders. Yep, walking away with a big win in Wyoming over the weekend. And now on to New York, April 19. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm back from the road, out on a little road trip to Santa Fe and to Marin County, California, talking buyer's remorse. 3 big book events out there, but it's good to be back with you. Great to see you today, this Monday, April 11, with a big thank you to Sabrina Siddiqui, to Jimmy Williams, and to Peter Ogburn for filling in while I was on the road. We've got lots to talk about today. A big win for Ted Cruz in Colorado, and again for Bernie Sanders in Wyoming, and lots of political chatter, which is why we are so happy to welcome back to the studio our own road warrior back from Wisconsin, Betsy Woodruff from Daily Beast. Hey, Betsy, nice to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back in fake America.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
That's how I think of it, yeah.
Yeah. So you get out, but good for you, like I was. You get out to real America.
Exactly. Kind of reset your brain, have conversations with people who don't have strong feelings on the on caucusing. And it's nice.
And
it's
then
good.
Come back here.
It's
All right. Good to see you. And joining our team here, of course, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, hello.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, with Ray Rogers. Ready for your calls, and we've had lots of calls already this morning. We want a lot more. 866-55-PRESS. Monty Kensler's got the job as videographer this morning, and we welcome Monty back to the team. So I have to tell you, being in the Bay Area of California, there was only one thing that anybody was talking about, and it was not Bernie Sanders, it was not Hillary Clinton, it was not Donald Trump, it was not Ted Cruz, it was the Warriors.
Crazy, man.
Man, we went out for dinner Thursday night when we got there to Marin, and nobody was talking to each other. Everybody was just watching the screen, right? Yeah. Last night, the Warriors did it. Here is the call on KNBR. They haven't yet set the world's record, but they tied it last night.
Danny Green pulls up, launches a 3, blocked by Iguodala. Curry's got it. There's your ball game, and the Golden State Warriors will become the second team in NBA history to get to 72 wins. Final score, Warriors 92 and the Spurs 86. The Golden State Warriors are 72-9.
Unbelievable.
What was that team that they beat, Jamie, again?
Yeah, basketball team they play in San Antonio, I think.
Look, I'm not
former home of one Peter
Ogburn. Used to work for the Spurs.
I'm not heard about this loss. To lose to the greatest basketball team of all time, and to be competitive, and when you have 2 of your...
Not yet the greatest, tied for the greatest.
Whatever makes you feel
they'll be the greatest.
You think so?
Whatever it takes,
look,
buddy.
I'm trying to convince myself that it's okay.
So can they win another game and make a new record?
Yeah. So they play...
Are there more sports games left in the sports season?
They play the Grizzlies on Wednesday. I think the last time they played the Grizzlies, they won like 118-62 or something. It was a total rout. So if they win against the Grizzlies, then that means they have more wins than any NBA team.
That is amazing.
Ever.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Yeah. How great. Well, here's to the Warriors.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah.
They're
absolutely. And we got lots. So Betsy's here with us for the first half hour. Dr. Julianne Malveaux has got a new book out called Are We Better Off? Race, Obama, and Public Policy. Joins us at the half hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. How about this story? 3 guys went out on their skiff. They were sort of going from one island in Micronesia to another when a wave overtook them and swept them off into a very deserted island. And they were missing for 3 days until a U.S. Navy plane actually spotted where they had spelled out the word help in palm leaves on the beach. This actually works. I've seen this in movies and TV shows. I didn't know it actually worked.
Let's get into there's like value in watching desert island cartoons.
Totally, right. But that's exactly what they did. And there's a shot of it of where they took it. I'll tweet it out.
Not an episode of Survivor.
You should know it actually genuinely worked. These three guys spelled out the word help in big letters on the beach, and the U.S. Navy plane saw it. They got help out, got him off the island. Everybody's safe. Everybody's fine. They had their life jackets on their skiff, which they say probably saved them because as the wave overtook them, they were able to get their life jackets on and carried them to safety. So very cool. Very, very cool. It's never a good idea to break and enter into anywhere, but if you're going to, this is the way to do it. This is a guy here in Washington, D.C., as a matter of fact, who broke into a Five Guys restaurant, but he didn't steal any money. He just went in and made himself a cheeseburger, and then he left. He saw a delivery man going into the restaurant through the back door, and so he waited until the door was open, and he slipped in and waited till the delivery guy left.
He had to heat up the grill?
He had to heat up the grill. He had to do the whole thing. He made himself a burger.
Sounds like an inside job to me.
He had a fountain drink and was cooking a cheeseburger, and then he took a bottle of water, and then he left.
So he took the cheeseburger with him. He didn't get apprehended or anything.
That's it. Yeah, no, he got away. They got him all on surveillance footage, but yeah, they.
Do you know what we call people like him?
Heroes?
Heroes.
Heroes. Yeah, that's a hero right there. I would totally do that if I thought I could get away with it.
Probably good PR for Five Guys, too.
Gotta be. And when we're talking politics, how about John Kasich?
I just have to say,
go ahead.
The little bacon cheeseburger.
That's the move, right?
The best.
Wait, where were you the other night? Yeah.
If I thought I knew how to fire up the grill, I'd make me a little bacon
That's
cheeseburger.
the biggest obstacle, right? Is getting the grill turned on. Not the morals of breaking into a restaurant.
There's nothing better.
I don't know how to turn on the grill.
There's nothing better.
All right, so John Kasich actually was on with Dan Patrick's radio TV show, and he said one thing he will do as president, and I could totally get behind this, he would make the Monday after the Super Bowl a national holiday.
That's such a no-brainer.
All right?
That's such a no-brainer.
I've been saying for years, like, either move it to Saturday or give us Monday off.
Like, why do we have President's Day, which is not that interesting of a
That's
holiday?
right.
There were a lot of crappy presidents. I don't think we need to celebrate all of them. It's a good idea. It's smart.
Yeah, so John Kasich said if he is president, and, I mean, let's face it, he's probably not.
If/when.
Yeah, right. But this could be the tide he needs to turn the election.
Now that he's taking a stand against big holiday.
That's right. Hey, we have our rights, damn it, to eat too much and drink too much on a Sunday night. So who knows? Who knows if we'll ever see that reality in the future?
And
John Kasich
I gotta say,
says
John Kasich also said he would not have signed HB2 if it had passed in Ohio. So good for him.
He sure did.
Taking a good. Betsy, how was Wisconsin? And you actually got into a. You've been banned by the Donald Trump campaign.
I managed to sneak my way in. Yeah.
Not as part of the press, but as part of the crowd? Or?
Correct. So it's actually kind of funny. Our publication, for months and months going way back, has just the Trump campaign won't credential us because of things editors tweeted, etc. But that's fine. Whatever. So I finally went to my very first actual Trump events in Wisconsin because I haven't been to Thank you. It was really magical. Always remember your first. And the one that really stood out to me was in Milwaukee, I guess, how you're supposed to say it, because I got there very early. I was later early than I'd hoped, about an hour before the event started. And, I was expecting massive lines down the street. There was a Bernie Sanders event literally next door, like across the parking lot. I figured this is going to be crazy. Let my editor know, guess what? There's probably going to be street fights. It's going to be amazing. And it wasn't. The place, when I got there was no line. I didn't have to wait to go through security. Just kind of waltzed in. The theater had a capacity of, I believe, 4,100 people. By the end of the event, one theater employee told me they estimated they filled about 2,500 seats. Whoa. So barely over half. And I sat in the audience, of course, because we're not credentialed. So we just go in the way audience members go in, sit in the audience, which is fine because the credentialed press actually have to stay in like this pen while Trump is speaking. So they can't talk to protesters. They can't mill around.
Were there any protesters?
There was like one, and I think he sort of got gently directed out. Police didn't even drag him around or anything. And at one point, I know, rats. And at one point, I was taking pictures of some of the empty seats because, half of like the entire back section of the theater was empty, and a Trump employee came up to me and said, "Are you a member of the media?" And I was like, "Well, I'm here as a general attendee. I'm not credentialed." She's like, "You need to go back to the media ped." I was like, "You guys won't let me in the media ped. Make up your mind." I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I got some pictures, but I don't know. It was very odd. It was really quiet.
We'd gotten used to these Trump events where he would come out and just sort of free form
Totally.
for a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had huge crowds, and we had the protesters, but it's been a while, right?
So is
For
this
sure.
are we seeing the beginning of the end of Donald Trump?
I don't know. I feel like saying that is a really good way to embarrass yourself. That said,
But it feels like it,
feels
doesn't
like
it?
it. Yeah, and I think part of the problem is that there's this really strong media interest in the massive overflowing Trump rallies. Every cable news, it's wall to wall, and it's you get all the images of people standing in these massive lines. But then, like for instance, in Milwaukee, where there weren't really any serious lines, where there were maybe 2 or 3 protesters outside, 1 protester inside, it doesn't get covered as much. So there's kind of bias isn't exactly the right word, but people don't focus on the fact that like not all of his events are overflowed. They're not all jammed full of Trump supporters with stars coming out of their eyeballs.
Right. But I know we set ourselves up for monumental embarrassment by even having this conversation. But it does seem that the bluster, which has gotten him a lot further than any of us ever thought, right?
All right.
That we're at a point right now where bluster doesn't carry it.
Totally. Well, bluster doesn't win you the Colorado State Convention.
For example.
Bluster doesn't help you out in these tiny little contests out in Wyoming.
And bluster doesn't help you out if you get to the floor of the convention and you really have to scramble for delegates.
Totally. Yeah. And that's one thing that I thought was really interesting about the way this whole situation's playing out, with Trump's new semi-campaign manager, Paul Manafort, saying that Ted Cruz is using Gestapo tactics to pick up delegates. It's kind of like, look, a central part of Trump's public policy pitch is that he's going to hire the smartest, best people ever, and they're going to do a good job managing stuff that he doesn't understand. But if you look at the way that the delegate contest is working out, that's not what happened. He's just getting beat over and over by Cruz because Cruz's people know what they're doing and Trump's people, all evidence indicates, don't.
Yeah, here is Paul Manafort, newly hired by Donald Trump and put in charge of organization, I guess. Although he insists he has not replaced the campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. It's just that Lewandowski's busy in court defending himself.
He has some other things
against assault charge. Yeah. But here's Paul Manafort yesterday on Meet the Press.
Is threatening a fair game? Is threats a fair game?
It's not my style. It's not Donald Trump's style.
What is?
I'll tell you, but it is Ted Cruz's style, and that's going to wear thin very fast.
You think he's threatening delegates?
Well, he's threatening that. You go to these county conventions and you see the Gestapo tactics, the scorched earth tactics.
Gestapo tactics. That's a strong word.
Well, you look at. We're going to be filing several protests because the reality is they are not playing by the rules.
Yeah, well, they are playing by the rules.
That's how the rules work.
Exactly.
The rules are complicated, but that's how they work. Yeah.
They're complicated and they're weird, but they are the rules. Everybody knew what they were.
It's public information. You can find them on the internet.
Yeah.
We knew this was coming. We've known this was coming for at least, there have been rumors of a contested convention for like 6 months, right?
Totally.
This isn't a surprise.
Yeah. But, I worked a convention, right, for Jerry Brown. And however many delegates are at the Republican convention, particularly, and it looks like we're going to have an open convention, you need to know who every one of those people are. You need to know whether they are, how committed they are, how bound they are, whether they become free after the first ballot or the second ballot, and whether they're likely to move. You've got to know them inside out.
You got to know everything. Yeah, you just have to have a million spreadsheets.
It is a massive organizational thing, and that's not Donald Trump's long suit.
Right.
And his campaign. There's nobody behind him, right, who can do it either. It doesn't seem that way. Now, Paul Manafort may be the person, but he's coming on awfully late in the process.
The other thing that kind of struck me with this is, I've heard several DC politicos say if Manafort is such a central part of the delegate wrangling process, how come he's in DC on Meet the Press the weekend when Wyoming and Colorado are actually figuring out what delegates they're sending? This guy is such a savant. Maybe maybe he should be out there getting people on board with this guy.
No, I had the same point when I heard that when I first heard that clip this morning, because I was on a plane yesterday and didn't see the morning shows. What's he doing on Meet the Press?
Seriously, Trump has plenty of people who are willing to go on TV and talk about how great he is.
We have to win the media war before we win the delegate war.
Right, because it's working so well.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right. And all eyes now, the big debate this week and the Democratic primary in New York. Actually, both primaries in New York, right? A week from tomorrow. Here with Betsy Woodruff from the Daily Beast, 866-55-PRESS. Is it the end of Trump? What's your comment? We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
We are 25 minutes after the hour with Dr. Julianne Malveaux coming up at the half hour. Betsy Woodruff here in the studio from the Daily Beast. So Betsy, getting a little tense between Bernie and Hillary in New York.
A little bit. It's kind of fun.
Huh?
It's nice that it's getting entertaining.
They sort of ratcheted it up and then ratcheted it down, which I thought was good. The unqualified that debate wasn't good for either one of them.
No, I liked how Wall Street Journal said, I think, what was their line? The Democratic primary pillow fight has taken an ugly turn. It's now a water balloon fight.
Did Bill Clinton help out at all?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like there's a generational divide here, too, where him sort of having that back and forth with the protester, where he basically suggested these protesters support murderers.
Yeah.
You know, suggested that, like, they were just doing it to try to get publicity, as if, like, the president of the United States has grounds for criticizing people for wanting to get publicity. I don't think that was helpful, but I feel like it's sort of for older people, for older voters who are more concerned about, a little more freaked out about violent crime than they might be about civil rights, equality, etc. I think the Bill Clinton pitch probably worked with them, the folks who already like Hillary. But I mean, in terms of young people, I don't think it helped at all.
But what gets me is the president himself has said before this, and he said after this, that the 94 crime bill did a lot of bad stuff, that they really overdid it, went too far. and has still had and is still having a very negative impact, particularly on young African Americans.
Totally,
yeah.
Which is not a controversial position. I mean, that's pretty much the consensus.
Yeah,
there aren't a lot of defenders of the 94 crime bill.
Right. So, I mean, it's almost like in that position where he just could have said, hey, you know what? What more can I say?
Right.
I was wrong. He
right.
was wrong, and I'm sorry I did it, and boom, 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 right?
Totally.
Instead, he just had
And instead he just says, I know you guys might think popping up 13-year-olds on crack is cool, but I don't. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah. Right. The line that I think that really hurts him there is where he talked about how you're defending the people who are murdering the children, and that's not the point of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, it's just totally. I mean, like this suggestion that if you support criminal justice reform and if you want to cut into mass incarceration, it means you're pro-crime.
Yeah,
is the oldest. That's the oldest trick in the book. It's what people always say when they're trying to stop criminal justice reform from happening. Every single state, federally, it's great politics because people are really, really scared of crime and because nobody feels bad for people who get incarcerated. But in reality, it always slows down efforts to change the system.
Bernie have a chance in New York?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Really?
I mean, he's down by a lot. But maybe. I could be wrong.
He's got 5 events today in New York. He's working the state for sure.
The kids love him.
I know.
He's from Brooklyn. He's been eating pizza.
We kids love him. Yes. All right. Hey, Betsy, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean. But because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now.
As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go at 33 minutes now after the hour. It is The Bill Press Show. We are in our studio here in Washington, D.C. Good to be back with you after a couple of days on the road, and good to see you today, where we are brought to you by the American Federation of Teachers, the good men and women of the AFT under President Randy Weingarten, making a difference in America's classrooms every day. You bet. We salute them for their good work and thank them for the sponsorship of the program. You've heard me talk about my book, A Buyer's Remorse, recently out. How Obama Let Progressives Down is the rest of the title. I'm not the first one with a book out looking at the Obama administration, now in the 7th year. We interviewed, had as a guest a week or so ago, Tom Frank, whose new book, Listen Liberal, takes a look at both the Clinton administration and Obama administration. And another one, and a very good one, Are We Better Off? Looking at particularly the issue of race, Obama, and public policy, by Dr. Julianne Malveaux, who joins us in studio this morning. And I must say, years ago, you and I spent a lot of time together on Crossfire. You were one of our favorite guests, Dr. Malveaux, so it's nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well. And don't forget, we spent all that time with the California Democratic Party.
Oh, not to
way
mention that,
back
too,
in the
right.
day.
That was
Way back in the day.
Yeah, before we both moved into television, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just back from California. I was there for the last 3 days. And you know what's exciting about California this year? The primary
actually
might really
matters.
Matter.
Yeah. It's like we're so late. I was with Tavis earlier last week as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, June 7th. And I was in New Mexico and then in California. Both states are on June 7th, and in both states people are very excited because they say it might really matter.
Yeah, before it was
our
just
voice might really count this time.
Before it was just a footnote,
Right.
Just
exactly. So as you look back, and this is a collection of your comments, current comments, and your columns during the last 7 years about President Obama, particularly on the area, what's your scorecard?
Well, gee, on race matters, he doesn't do too well. frankly. He said he wasn't going to be a black president. I'm not there's no black America, no white America, one America, and he was the president of the United States. His signature accomplishment, of course, is the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
And he'll go down in history for that, and that helps everyone. And certainly more African Americans have health coverage. We don't have universal coverage, but more African Americans have coverage. But in terms of income, poverty, home ownership, none of those areas are areas where African American material conditions substantially improved. And in terms of race matters, at the beginning of the book, I talk a lot about framing what people thought should happen with President Obama, all the hopes and history that were there. But then the way that, basically white Republicans, and that's oxymoronic to say white Republicans, same thing. But in any case, they treated him horribly. Mitch McConnell saying his first goal was to make sure he's a one-term president. I mean, you've got, you're in the middle of a recession, but your goal is to get rid of the president, not to get rid of the recession. But then I turn around and ask, is this any way to treat your people? President Obama has been the scold-in-chief for black America. He's walked around going to Morehouse College, of all places, the citadel of black male education, telling people to pull up their pants. Well, people's pants don't sag at Morehouse, by and large. So that's right. Just not the place to have that kind of conversation. Sort of wagging the Father's Day kind of speeches that he's done. And so, I sort of frame it and say he wasn't done too well by, quote, by conservatives, but he didn't do too well by black America either. The whole throwing Jeremiah right under the bus, I still think was a mistake.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, first of all, with my book, I've gotten a lot of criticism by being critical about President Biden. Joining the club, exactly. But Saturday night, I had another book event, a book sign in Point Reyes, California, and the question inevitably does come up. He's the first black president. What is his record? What is his legacy? With African Americans, and I have to say, look at me. I'm not the best one to speak to this, but in writing my book, I'm sure with yours too. I talked to a lot of members, particularly the Black Caucus here in Washington, and then reporters who joined me at the White House, right? Mm-hmm. And what I heard from them was what I hear from you is a lot of disappointment, right? That he sort of almost felt compelled to hold back.
Exactly.
Because he didn't want to be seen, maybe, right?
He didn't want to be seen as a black president, so he decided that he was not going to deal with the African American community at all, really. Historically black colleges, as I mentioned to you earlier, I spent 5 years running Bennett College for Women, an HBCU in Greensboro, North Carolina. One of two for women, Spelman being the other, but we being older. Just got to throw that in there. Yes, but in any case, we saw funding cut under President Obama. Now, who would have thought that a black president would cut historically black colleges? I mean, so I still feel when I see him, I'm old enough to think about someone like my grandmother who swore there would never be a black president in her lifetime, or my mom who's 88, who just shimmers with pride whenever you see the man on television. And I still am old enough to feel, when he walks on Air Force One, I get a sense of history. Yeah. But I'm still disappointed at, you can't eat history. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the aspirational side, right, or the inspirational side of who he is, that he is a young black boy who became president of the United States. That's pretty powerful.
It's powerful. It's worth something. But it's not worth. But it's not food in the cupboard. It is worth something. And I do think there are the moments like the 106-year-old lady who was dancing with him, and Michelle. Moments like that, or when the little black boy was in his office and he let him feel his hair. Your hair is just like mine. There are those sentimental moments that people will be writing about and talking about for years. But they'll also be writing and talking, Bill, about what actually happened. There's so many symbolic things that he could have done. And I grant you that in the first term, he probably was looking at re-election and therefore needed to be very careful. However, since 2014, after, the chips had fallen where they had in terms of the Congress, and we lost the Congress, of course, he could put a dashiki on him, lift his black power fist up in the air. They can't do anything to him. So, you know. So
now, I thought it was interesting last week when he was talking about his Supreme Court nominee. He said, you know, a lot of people expected me to put a black lesbian from Skokie, nominate them for the Supreme Court, but he didn't. He nominated Merrick Garland. And I think that was telling to
and
hear
that was a slap in the face to black women, and it was extremely condescending.
By the way, I had that same reaction.
I was waiting for Loretta. I mean, I was pushing for Loretta Lynch.
Exactly. That would have
been a real statement, right?
Yeah. Well, no, when he said that, I mean, I just wanted to like go through the television and grab him.
Yeah, there's a black lesbian from Skokie isn't a punchline for what you're doing, right?
No.
Like I thought that was a weird thing to say.
When it comes to Ferguson, Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, Freddie Gray. You can go down the list of, up in Staten Island. I'm just blanking on his name.
Eric Garner.
Eric Garner, right? Did the president do enough? Speak out enough? Wait too long?
He waited too long. He did. I think that the turning point for him on race matters was Mother Emanuel Church.
Oh.
I think that. Although I had mixed feelings about that speech, but I thought at some it was a very good speech. I thought that he got off his non-emotional sort of high horse and really, basically he knew the gentleman who was killed, and therefore he basically, you saw him as a human being who basically saw race the same way that many of us did.
Right.
But before that, of course, Bill, he got spanked with the Skip Gates situation. And after that, he was very, very ginger around police matters. Mm-hmm. And for listeners who don't remember, that was when a professor at Harvard was arrested because he was breaking into his own house. Yeah. And because, of course, the president knows Dr. Gates, he made a comment.
But the police acted stupidly.
Right.
I was there. Lynn Sweet's the one who asked the question. And
okay.
And he answered honestly.
And it was stupid. But then he has to have this beer summit, which was silly. I wrote, there's a piece in there called Ask Pookie for a Beer. Get some young brother in the African-American community who's been, basically roused about and let him come to the White House to talk about it. But the policeman gets to, he and Skip and the president have a beer, woo-wee, and...
right. No.
So but after that, I think
he was sort of chastened by that, you think, and then
very much
reluctant.
so.
I remember April Ryan, whom we all know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm at the White House with her every day, and with the Trayvon Martin thing, I mean, April kept saying, "Where's Obama? Where's Obama? Why isn't he out there?" He finally did come out, but it took a while.
It just seems to me that everything that he's done around race has taken too long. And has been too, what do I want to say? Just too contained. Just really too contained.
Yeah. That, which is sort of almost the hallmark of his presidency, though. I mean, that meaning...
Well, you see more enthusiasm around other things. I mean,
yes.
Come on, you bathe the White House in rainbow colors. I mean, that's exuberance. Mm-hmm. And good for him. I mean, and that was a good move. And he, of course, did change his position on marriage equality, but again, we have to give folks opportunity to change their positions, otherwise we rigidly be stuck. But still, you bathe the White House in rainbow colors. How about red, black, and green for a moment? Just...
There. The book is Are We Better Off? Race, Obama, and Public Policy. And, of course, you can get it on any of the websites, barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com at your local bookstore. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, the author, here in studio with us. Are we better off? What do you think? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. Taught him how to hit the open man. much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes now before the top of the hour. Sam Baker from the National Journal joins us at the top of the hour. Right now, we're talking President Obama's legacy, his record, particularly on race relations. Are we better off nearing the end here in terms of African Americans, particularly nearing the end of the 8 years of our first African-American president? Race, Obama, and Public Policy. Dr. Julianne Malveaux is the author. You have a preface here, the foreword, rather, by Donna Brazil.
Yeah.
So funny that Donna wrote the foreword to your book, and she gives me nothing but grief for my book.
Well, she gave me a little grief, too.
I'll have to talk to her about that.
But not a lot. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways she agrees. Of course, because she does work for the party, she, has some limitations on what she's going to say, or what she's willing to say, because she basically wants to advance the Democratic Party. But
so, not putting words in your mouth, but what I hear from you is that in terms of life being better, right, on the ground for African Americans, there's a sense of disappointment that President Obama didn't deliver.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you look at gainers in the African American community, there's a small number of people who earn more than $200,000 a year. That's a very small number of African Americans. That number, of course, increased, but the number in poverty also increased. So, the same bifurcation that you see in the rest of society, you see in Black America. But to have more people in poverty, and now you have, even as the unemployment rate has come ticking down, the Black unemployment rate's like 9.2, 9.3, still twice that of the white unemployment rate. Right. And you see Congress talking now about cutting public assistance, cutting any of the programs that were designed to help the poor, arguing that, of course, now that the recession is over with, we don't really need to do very much more for people. But there are people who have been long-term unemployed. That number, again, has dropped, of course, but it's still a solid core of people who haven't been able to find jobs in 2 years, 2-3 years.
Okay, now you have stirred things up on the phones here, so let's go to the phones. Let's start with Tracy out in Illinois. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Fine,
Good morning.
thanks.
Yeah, I disagree with you, and I believe that just having President Obama elected was historical. Of course, he wasn't going to get everything that he wanted because of the Republicans and them blocking everything. But I think just having the conversation about race, what other president has even talked about us, about black people? They have ignored us. They didn't talk about us. They didn't talk about our issues, and he did. And I'm proud of him, and you're going to find that Hillary is the only person that's going to carry his legacy.
All right, Tracy, we'll take that as
Thanks,
a statement.
Tracy.
Julianne?
You know, I don't disagree with you. I'm proud of him, too, but I don't think he's done what he could have done for black America. And I'll tell you, Tracy, he had 2 years. I mean, he had 2 years, those first 2 years where he had the whole Senate. He had the whole House of Representatives. He could have just about gotten anything through. Instead, he's trying to play footsie with people who did not care about him, did not care about us, the McConnells of the world. He's trying to make friends with these people. And, you know, trying to be Mr. Kumbaya. Kumbaya in a quarter won't even get you a newspaper.
Ted, those first 2 years were important. There was a lot, a lot of unfinished business in those,
Absolutely,
or unaddressed business.
He could have done so much more. Now, again, we give him credit for the Affordable Care Act. We must, but you know.
All right, quickly to Ted out in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hi, Ted.
In thinking about it, I also wanted to ask Ms. Malveaux, you know, to generalize. I am very perplexed in the Hispanic world how somehow he has allowed his Justice Department to do more deportations per resident capita and more deportations in total than George W. Bush. I mean, I don't understand it, actually. Can you comment on that?
Yeah.
I agree with you fully. I mean, it is it's disappointing, especially given what he's done from a policy perspective on immigration, on the DREAM Act and all of that, to still allow it. And, you know, these things happen in a discretionary way. He could order the Justice Department to slow their roll, to just do this a little bit more slowly, and he hasn't done it. Yeah. So, again, I would say that while he's been very good on some issues around immigration, he's been not so good on others, and he has left these issues unaddressed.
Right. That's why he's gotten that deporter-in-chief.
Yeah.
What some of the Latino community call him. And while he supported comprehensive immigration reform and was blocked from getting it by these Republican nuts in Congress, right? Still, at the same time, he was pursuing this deportation policy.
Exactly. And again, all he has to do, these are discretionary things. He could simply say, let's just take it easy on this. There still might be some deportations, but it seems to me that the pace has picked up and it's been much more aggressive than it has to be. Right.
And it certainly didn't get him any votes from Republicans in Congress. What a great conversation, and we're just getting started, but we're out of time. But Dr. Julianne Malveaux, I know exactly. Are We Better Off is a book, very, very important book. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you,
All right?
Bill.
All right, we'll continue the conversation another time, too, and we'll be right back. Tell you what's on the president's schedule today.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Okay, it was just about moving into hour number 3, and remember, you have a little pause here. On Free Speech TV, you won't be able to catch out of the third hour until 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific, but we'll be with you right away on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Peter Baker from the National Journal will be here to give us the latest on the legal front, and also we'll be talking with a legal analyst and trial lawyer, Debbie Hines. Lots coming up here in hour number 3. You're going to want to stay tuned, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, President Obama with a fairly light schedule today. This morning at about 9:30, 10 o'clock actually, he and the Vice President will get their daily briefing. And then this afternoon, he and the Vice President will sit down with the head of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, to get the latest report and briefing on the state of the economy and maybe some insights into what the Federal Reserve may end up doing about interest rates. We have our briefing with Josh Earnest at 12:30 today at the White House. In the next hour, Sam Baker will be along from National Journal. They're to talk about the latest on the Supreme Court battle with Merrick Garland, who will be meeting at least with one more Republican senator this week, Pat Toomey, and I think he's going to have breakfast with Chuck Grassley. But, yeah, that's not going to lead to anything. And then Debbie Hines, our trial lawyer friend and legal analyst, will be along as well. So lots coming up in the next hour. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Another big Bernie win in Wyoming. That makes 8 out of 9 of the last 9 contests. No doubt. The momentum with Bernie Sanders. New York coming up next. Hello, everybody. It's me, and I'm back here. Bill Press on the Bill Press Show. How about that? How unusual.
What an idea.
After a little road trip to Santa Fe and to Marin County, California, with my new book, Buyer's Remorse, How Obama Let Progressives Down. It's good to be back in studio with you and back alongside of you wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours, either on the radio, your local progressive talk radio station, or on television on Free Speech TV. Good to see you, and thanks to Sabrina Siddiqui and to Jimmy Williams and to Peter Ogburn for filling in those 3 days while I was gone. Here we go. Look forward to hearing from you, as always, at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Lots of calls this morning. Keep them going. And good to get your comments also on Twitter, at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Aforementioned Peter Ogburn leading up our team this morning with Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Everything good?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It takes a village to host the show while you're gone. So we had several people and to help fill in. So I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. And it's good to be back here. And I also had a good time on the road.
I believe that.
Great visit to Santa Fe. It's a great community. Our great local affiliate there in Santa Fe and in Albuquerque. Saw a lot of people from both, loyal listeners, and in the Bay Area as well. All those people that we always talk about early in the morning. Sometimes the earlier it is, the more calls we get from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ray Rogers is here, too, to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Monty Kanzler in today as videographer for the day. And we welcome a good friend from the National Journal. Their Supreme Court and legal affairs reporter and a neighbor on Capitol Hill, Sam Baker. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
Good to see you.
You too.
How
Thanks
about
for
it? Yeah. I mean, we want to find out if the court's been able to get any work done at all. But you've been watching them. You can tell us. On another front, the big news is we've been talking a lot about these discriminatory bathroom laws passed in North Carolina and Mississippi, vetoed in Georgia, but now pending in Missouri and South Carolina, and Sam, which could very well make their way to the Supreme Court.
They could if any lower court ever upholds them. I mean,
which would be hard to believe. But
but stranger things have happened. They absolutely could make their way there. And
But a big statement yesterday about it. Bruce Springsteen's scheduled sold-out concert in Greensboro, North Carolina, and he pulled the plug and said, no, we are not going to do anything to help the revenue of a state that practices such discrimination. He himself, he put out a statement. He didn't speak about it, but a member of the E Street Band, Stephen Van Zandt, did, saying here's why they made this decision.
We just felt the issue was just too important. And this really vile and evil discrimination is starting to spread state to state, and we thought we better take a stand right now and catch it early, and maybe try and stop it. At least set some kind of example for others to.
Good for him. Good for them.
Yeah. And this keeps happening. Remember when Indiana, for a minute, passed its religious freedom, and the NCAA said, well, maybe we can't have the Final Four in Indianapolis. All these business groups said, maybe we don't want to do business.
Yeah, right.
It's morally wrong, but it's bad for business to do this stuff. And
that's
I don't know
what it comes down to.
Yeah. But it couldn't be clearer.
Right.
If you're a Republican governor, socially conservative, this is a riskier move now than it was in the 90s.
Yeah. And good. I think good for Springsteen. Good for in North Carolina now. Starbucks and Google and Citibank and Wells Fargo, and you get down the list. Uber, Twitter.
The NBA, by the way,
NBA,
with North Carolina. Talk about the All-Star game.
Yeah. Right.
See if they keep it there.
All right. Yeah. Sam Baker's with us for the first half hour, and then Debbie Hines, legal analyst, will join us at the half. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. History was made last night in the NBA as the Golden State Warriors defeated the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs were playing at home. It was their first home loss all season long, but the Warriors, the bigger story is the Warriors tied the Bulls for the most wins in a season with 72 wins. They get a chance to beat the Bulls' record on Wednesday night as they play against the Memphis Grizzlies. Last time that the Warriors and the Grizzlies played, I think the final score was like 112-68. It was not close.
Feel like they'll be beating that record.
Yeah, I think if you were you were betting, you could bet that the Golden State Warriors will get that record.
But
on
they
Wednesday
really
night.
proved it by going into San Antonio and beating the Spurs on their turf.
They haven't won at home playing against San Antonio in their barn since like in the last 33 games. Or something.
Man,
It's been forever. Even earlier in the season, the Spurs beat them in San Antonio. So this was a huge, huge thing.
As I mentioned earlier, being in the Bay Area the last 3 days, man, this is all anybody was talking about. They weren't talking about Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Bernie Sanders, Hillary. No, it was all Warriors.
We are very well looking at the best basketball team that's ever played. Really and truly. I mean, if they beat this record, which it looks like they will, and they go on to win the title.
All right.
You know, it's hard to imagine that. All right, so happy birthday, by the way, tomorrow. Beverly Cleary turns 100 years old. The New York Times has a great story on the author. She is behind the Ramona Quimby books, right? She has sold 85 million copies of her books over the course of her life. I mean, we all have spent time growing up reading those books. Henry Huggins, Ralph S. Mouse, all those different characters. Again, I'm going to tweet out this story so you could read it, but New York Times has a great big write-up. She lives in Carmel, California today. Yeah, at 100 years old.
All right.
Big deal.
Congressman Sam Farr, I hope.
There you go.
Represents that area.
Beverly Cleary Day tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, he lives in Carmel, represents Carmel, so I hope he does the right thing.
And Greg Louganis, the Olympic diver, did not get a chance to be on the Wheaties box back when he won his gold medals in the Olympics. And he says that he thinks it has a lot to do with the fact that he was a gay man. Well, he has his chance now to be on the Wheaties box. They put him on in sort of a retro box of cereal. They're putting a lot of old Olympic athletes on the covers of the Wheaties box, and his was the first name to come up.
Former Olympic athletes, I think.
Former Olympic athlete. Former Olympic.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry. I always do that. Former, past Olympic athletes. They're putting them. Well, they're not past either, I guess. No. So former Olympic athletes, putting them on the box. So Greg Louganis was the very first one, it's a pose of him in mid-dive on the box, and he posted a photo of him eating a box of Wheaties with the box with him on it next to him. So, very cool story.
All right. Good for him. We don't mean to be too critical today, but I don't think he was eating the box of Wheaties either.
Eating from the box of Wheaties. I'm sorry. Do you
Sam, do you want to pile on here too?
I'm sorry.
The box probably tastes as good as the Wheaties.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Gee, isn't it time for you to?
Another road trip?
Yeah. Hey, don't you have somewhere to be?
All right. So, Sam, Senate comes back this week. The House and Senate both come back after, I forget what break it was. They have so many long breaks. And Merrick Garland is still the president's nominee for the Supreme Court. Is still out there trying to meet with some of these senators and get something going. What's the plan for this week?
He has a couple more meetings scheduled with Democrats. The latest,
they're easy.
The latest Republican, I believe, is Lindsey Graham, who said he would take that meeting, which is, it's everybody. It's a reversal.
Sure.
But any Republican says they'll meet with him.
And Pat Toomey, no?
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, from Pennsylvania.
Okay. You've seen some cracks there.
There's talk about a breakfast with Chuck Grassley.
Yeah, which was a weird.
Fun?
Grassley said he'd have breakfast with him to tell him that they're not moving forward.
Yeah,
which is, I don't know how much more you could look for a euphemism for a meeting. That's some we're going to eat breakfast and talk about the nomination process.
I can't figure if that's like overly polite or overly cruel.
Yeah,
it's one of the
both
two,
at the
right?
same
It might be
time.
both.
Okay. So they're having meetings now, but that doesn't mean a hearing, and that
Right.
doesn't mean a vote.
Right.
Or does it?
No, I don't think it does. But, this is Democrats. It's not like Democrats had any sort of traditional political leverage here. There was nothing they could hold up on the floor to force a vote.
Right.
There was nothing, no Republican priority that they could try to couple this with. So all they can really do is push and push and push and hope for a little crack, and then keep pushing and hope that turns into a bigger crack and a bigger crack, and that this all ends up with a vote. So meetings are progress, but you haven't seen many, if any, Republicans actually come out and say we should have a hearing, much less that they would support Garland's nomination.
Well, the Democrats believe that with enough pressure will build to the point where enough Republican senators up for re-election are going to say to McConnell and to Grassley, look, you can't leave us out on this limb, right, any longer. You've got to at least hold a hearing and at least have a vote. Is that likely to happen?
I would have previously thought so, but it's looking less and less that way. Grassley has really dug in.
Is it because the American people don't give a damn about the Supreme Court?
Probably partly that, and even if the vulnerable and moderate senators, come out and say that and break with their party, I don't believe there's enough of them to actually get him confirmed if there was a vote. I think the Republican establishment could still.
But at that point, they could at least say, well, we did our job.
Right.
We held a hearing. We held a vote. We didn't approve him, but we did our job.
Yeah.
Which I think is a better position than not having a hearing.
I think McConnell's fear is if you start the process. I think he knew, because he came right out almost as soon as Scalia died and said, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think his fear was Obama would nominate someone who would do very well in the hearings. And then it's going to look like, well, how do you oppose this guy? So I think...
Which I think we could say Garland would probably do very well.
I think he'd do very well.
Yeah.
He is as close to a non-ideological judge as you can get. He hasn't taken stances on anything controversial. So
now, this has taken such a bizarre turn that last week, Chairman Grassley actually came out and attacked Chief Justice John Roberts for politicizing the court.
Which was a reversal for Grassley. It was an unusual statement.
Why pick a fight with the Chief Justice?
Yeah, he was...
By the way, and John Roberts has not spoken at all about this delay, has he?
No, he hasn't.
He should, but...
I doubt he will. Maybe after the election, he could say, okay, now please.
Yeah.
But even that seems like, unusually... He keeps ending up in the political fray, but he doesn't enjoy it. He's not like Anthony Kennedy, who sort of relishes that spotlight.
Yeah.
But Roberts had made some comments, I think 10 days before Scalia died, that said the confirmation process is not working great. It's getting too political. But again, that was before Scalia died. And Grassley came out with his statement, well, Roberts is the one that's politicized it with his Obamacare ruling, which, Grassley had previously said he specifically would not get political about that ruling. So it's a real reversal for Grassley, and it's not clear why that statement got under his skin so much when it was not even a reaction to the current circumstances.
Is it possible, as some suggested, that if Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders wins the presidency on November 8th, that Republicans could say, oh, my God, the last thing we want is for one of them to make an appointment, right? Let's go with Obama's guy.
Yeah, I think you've seen Jeff Flake, who's sort of one of the key semi-moderate. He's on the Judiciary Committee. I think he has said he would be all for doing this in the lame duck session before the new president is sworn in.
But that totally contradicts their message, doesn't it?
It does and it doesn't. I mean, it's, I guess after the election, the people have spoken. Right, and they elect a Democrat. So okay, we'll let a Democrat.
No,
I'm not totally sold on this,
right.
But I do sort of buy that it's probably Garland's best bet or Obama's best bet.
Oh, you do, yeah.
Not that it's a great bet,
right.
But I think it's better than anything before the election.
Yeah, I think the real question is whether this becomes enough of an issue, and whether Democrats can make it enough of an issue.
Yeah,
particularly in the general election. And, everybody says that's the most important reason for voting for president is nominations to the Supreme Court. Well, we'll find out whether people really believe that, I guess.
Absolutely.
Right? Here was Sam Baker from the National Journal, 866-55-PRESS. What do you think? Will we see a new president or a new justice on the Supreme Court? Which one will come first? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go. 25 minutes after the hour now. Wrapping up with Sam Baker from the National Journal on Supreme Court matters. And so Debbie Hines, our legal analyst, joins us at the half hour. Sam, the court is kind of muddling along, however, without Scalia, with their 8 members.
Yes.
And are they able to get anything done?
Sort of. We did see
like the rest of us, I guess. Sort of.
We did see a deadlock, one of the most significant 4-4 ties that we've seen yet. Last week in a big case on public sector unions, which left in place a lower court's ruling in favor of public sector unions.
Right.
It's a really significant, a
extremely
4-4 tie
case.
where nobody votes doesn't seem like a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and everybody knew if Scalia had been there. Everybody anticipated this would have been the end of collective bargaining for public employee unions.
Yep, and now they live to fight another day.
Yeah.
So,
the big case coming up next week?
Next week, oral arguments on President Obama's executive actions on immigration.
Now, this is a challenge to his executive actions on immigration.
Yes.
So, what we could expect that they may save the day again with a 4-4 split?
Maybe. I mean, if it didn't all come down to Kennedy before, it really does now. Just be a question of where he is inclined to fall, which we really won't. It's hard to tell. This doesn't really speak to any of his typical, areas of law that kind of excite him generally. So it'll be really interesting oral argument. It could be 4-4 again, and then this would be one that would have to come up again. Once there's a new justice, whether that's next year or in 2 years. I think the politics of this are so significant and so huge that the court might decide to hold it over for another hearing instead of just deadlock and leave the lower court in place.
What do we know about Garland in the sense that you can't assume that Garland is going to be an automatic liberal vote?
No.
Can you?
No, not at all. Not at all. He tends to sort of do as little as possible. His rulings he is deferential to the police and to executive agencies. When he writes, he tries to write, very narrow, fact-based opinions. So on immigration specifically, the thinking is he might be inclined to side with the administration. But no, he will not be a solid liberal vote, and certainly not a very expansive one.
So that raises a question, which we'll discuss another time, whether President Obama made a mistake. Sam Baker, always good to see you, my friend. We'll leave that hanging out there. Thanks for coming in. Back with Debbie Hines.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood,
Oak Creek,
Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go now, 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. Here on this Monday, April 11. Yes, indeed. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, where we're brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We all live better because of the good work of the men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. Salute them for their good work. Direct you to their website at teamster.org. A lot of issues related to race, to criminal justice reform, to prison reform, now swirling around the 2016 presidential primary. Debbie Hines, our good friend, is a trial lawyer and legal analyst, comes in to talk with us about all of those. Debbie, it's always good to see you. Thanks for coming in. This all popped up last week, maybe, when again some protesters from Black Lives Matter showed up at a Clinton event. This a Bill Clinton event. They held up their signs. They started their chants, particularly about the 1994 crime bill, which he signed into law. And the president wasn't too happy to see them. He lashed back, and here he is.
I don't know how you would characterize the gang leaders who got 13-year-old kids hopped up on crack and sent them out onto the street to murder other African-American children. Maybe you thought they were good citizens. She didn't. She didn't. You are defending the people who kill the lives you say matter. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Are Black Lives Matter protesters defending murderers?
Absolutely not. And what Bill Clinton was doing was classic Bill Clinton, which is just changing the conversation, attacking the other person that was trying to get some comment, some resolution from him. That was just classic Clinton. No, they're not defending the murderers. They wanted to know about the crime bill that sent a lot of African Americans to jail.
For nonviolent crimes.
For nonviolent crimes.
And a lot of them are still there. right?
Absolutely. Because of the 1994 crime bill, a lot are still there because they're there on nonviolent crimes. Many are there on minor drug offenses, which were felony drug offenses, and they had mandatory minimum sentences, which means that in a lot of instances, they were sentenced for a very small amount, or maybe just holding drugs for a family member. We're not talking about dealing drugs for 20 years.
Yeah,
20 years.
Yeah, right. And this also wasn't it in this bill or related, certainly to Bill Clinton, for the disparity between sentencing on crack cocaine and powder cocaine?
It's in this bill.
Yeah.
And so in this bill, it was directly targeted at African Americans because the bill set forth a 100-to-1 disparity in sentencing between crack cocaine, which was used a lot in many African American communities, versus powder cocaine, which was more likely to be used among whites. And even though we know that from the data has shown, and even back then, that whites and African Americans and other minorities use drugs at about the same rate. It's not that African Americans use drugs at any higher rate than white Americans, but they were sentenced so much harshly under the Bill Clinton crime law.
Now, how come then, if this was so bad for the African American community, that it had such support at the time from prominent African Americans? James Clyburn voted for it. I mean, I think the Black Caucus supported it. Why?
Okay, so there is a two-prong approach to the bill. Crime was rampant. We can't deny that crime was rampant in a lot of African American communities because of the drugs that were there. But what a lot of the black legislators wanted, even though they signed onto the bill, they wanted drug treatment. They wanted economic stimulus for African American communities. They wanted jobs. They wanted training. They wanted other things other than jail. And what they got from Bill Clinton was prison and police. So yes, the African American leaders did sign on to that, but there were other things that they wanted to go along with that.
That never came.
That never came. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So where are we now with this bill? Has it? Is it still in force? And is there any chance of reversing it or modifying it?
Well, when Eric Holder was in office, there was a reduction of the harsh sentencing with respect to the 100-to-1 ratio of crack cocaine to powder cocaine. But, Bill, there are still many people that are in jail that are there for minor offenses that were created as a result of the Bill Clinton era, and they're serving 20 years. And although President Obama has recently pardoned, I think, about 60, it was 9,000.
Commuted the sentences.
Commuted. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the correction here. Though he has commuted the sentences of approximately 60 during the last couple of weeks ago, there's like a backlog of like 9,000 people who are asking for the same result. And those are the people that are there having served almost 20 years for, in essence, a nonviolent crime involving a minute amount of drugs.
Well, but I was, wasn't that long ago, maybe 6 months ago, there was all this talk about criminal justice reform, right? And the Koch brothers supposedly supported it, and some Republicans supported it in Congress, and President Obama's for it, and it was all directed at this sentencing and this bill. And I haven't heard any talk about what happened to that whole movement.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. There are some Republicans that do support it, but we haven't really seen much progress on that. And we're now in the last 10 months or so of President Obama's term.
Chuck Grassley supposedly was for it.
Exactly. And there's another congressman, I think, in Texas whose name is escaping me at the moment, that supported it, but we really haven't seen that much. But to be clear of what that 1994 bill did, and with regard to any criminal justice reform that would be done or could be done today, it devastated the African American community for generations, because tied to the 1994 crime bill was the, quote, Welfare Reform Act. That's the part that even Bernie Sanders, who also signed on to the crime bill, did not want. He voted against that, as well as many of the black legislators. They voted against the welfare bill. They voted against that. And so that's like the two-prong approach to it. On the one hand, you have people in jail for a very long time, and even those that are not in jail for a long time, when they come out, they are completely denied many of the federal rights that would help them to move forward in their lives.
So if you look at I know this is not the direction of our conversation, but I just have to ask you a question. If you look at the negative impact disastrous impact of the 1994 crime bill and of the welfare reform, why do so many African Americans support the Clintons and Hillary Clinton in particular?
You know, that's an oxymoron. I just really cannot answer it. I certainly can't answer it on behalf of speaking for African Americans. I think that they have a love affair. They have a love affair, Bill and Hillary Clinton. I don't know what that's about, but I do know that, at least as to young African American millennials, I mean, they see the light, they see the truth, and maybe because they weren't living at that time, I can't speak to why there's so much support for Hillary and Bill Clinton. But as to young millennial Black African Americans, they know that the bill was a bad bill. They are seeing reality as it exists now, and so they are seeing what the effects of it was. They may not be able to articulate the 1994 crime bill and what everything entailed in it, but they see today the effect of it, and they're not having it.
How do you assess the effectiveness or success of the Black Lives Matter movement?
Oh, I think they're going to be very successful. I mean, I think it started out. They
have so far.
Oh, I think they're going to be very successful, and I think we're only seeing just the beginning of it. I think that they're going to continue to grow in different areas. It looked like before they were just going to be just complaining about things and having protests, but now we're seeing leaders such as DeRay, who is now running for mayor of Baltimore. So I think you're going to see a lot of them more involved actively in the political process, in addition to trying to get the word out about what has happened in the African American community.
Yeah, but I just was thinking in terms of this primary, for example, Martin O'Malley, Bernie Sanders, that was the first time, I think, that we saw them publicly. And then with Hillary Clinton, at that one fundraiser with Bill Clinton last week, I mean,
they've been disruptive, and that's what you have to do to get attention. I mean, that's what they've been about, and they've been disruptive. They've certainly have gotten the media attention. I mean, disrupting Hillary Clinton, having that one on air with her speaking to them and behind a closed door, disrupting Bill Clinton. I mean, they're getting the facts out there.
The phrase predators? Or
super predators. Super predators. That African Americans are super predators.
Yeah, that she had used way back then, I think in
1996, that she had used back in 1996 to describe, and that that term is so distasteful. I mean, I don't think it was actually coined by her, but she actually did use it. But it would have been more applicable if you're talking about a term that was used in slavery times in 1996. I mean, she is in essence referring to African Americans, be they criminals or non-criminals, as basically animals.
Yeah. Debbie Hines with us here, legal analyst and trial lawyer as well, on the issues of the. When we come back, I want to get your take on this debate last week about between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, whether either one of them was qualified to be president. It's the Bill Press Show, and you are part of it. So let's hear from you at 866-55-PRESS.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you, the last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. Dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
All right, at 11 minutes before the top of the hour, winding up this Monday, April 11, with Debbie Hines, our good friend, trial lawyer and legal analyst. And you can find her at online at Legal Speaks, all one word, legalspeaks.com. Is Hillary Clinton qualified to be president?
I absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. That was kind of a silly exchange, wasn't it?
It was absolutely silly. And I mean, I think it takes away from the issues. It doesn't help or hurt. I mean,
is Bernie qualified?
Absolutely. I mean, he's been in the Senate for years before that Congress. But I just think that the whole issue of qualifications with respect to those two individuals, I mean, we're not talking about the Republican Party. We're talking about the candidates that are running for the Democrats.
It's a different question. Is Donald Trump qualified?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a different question with that Republican Party. But when you're talking about the Democratic candidates, absolutely, they've all been qualified that have been running.
Yeah, when I saw, that Morning Joe, right, she was asked 3 times, is Bernie qualified? And she wouldn't answer it. She dances around. And I said, don't go there. And then Bernie said, she's not qualified. And I thought, Bernie, don't go there. And I think they both realized that they backed off, right?
Yeah.
Yes, as well they should have. I mean, because they're obviously both very qualified to be president.
There are differences between them.
Yes, there are ideology differences between them.
Which are legitimate, and they have differences in their past records, which that's legitimate to point out. But
and they support different issues in some instances, and in many instances they support verbally the same reforms.
Right. A different way of getting there.
Not only when we talk about qualifications are we talking about Donald Trump, but it's also, Ted Cruz is a freshman senator, right? Who we know does not play well with the government, right? So if we do end up going that route and we're talking about qualifications, let's bring his qualifications into it as well. I don't think he's all that qualified to be president either.
Now, as a member of the legal profession, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the Supreme Court?
Well, I think it's going to be more than a moment before we'll have the ninth judge confirmed. We don't know if they'll be actually confirmed anytime soon or even in President Obama's term. But so what that basically means is that the court where they are split, and they're not going to always be split, but in the instances where they are split.
On the voting rights last week,
right,
they did 8-0, which surprised the hell out of me.
Which was great. I was very surprised about that, too. You got 8 of them to agree to something, and it was favorable. But in the other instances where they're going to be split, for whatever was the ruling in the lower court, meaning the court before it came up to the Supreme Court, that would be the ruling that would stand.
But to me, the implications, basically, the legislative branch has shut down the judicial branch of government for a year.
Almost completely. Like I said, and you're going to have some. You're going to have some decisions that'll be okay, that will be able to be decided on because they won't. They won't be the split. But the ones, and it's a double-edged sword because the split can work either favorably for Democrats or progressives, like in the case of the union case, where it worked in favor of progressives and in support of unions. But it can also end up working. In that instance, it was against the Republicans, but it can also work either way. You don't really know how that's going to happen.
To me, it's just there's something basically unfair and unconstitutional about what they're doing in the sense that we're supposed to have a balance of powers, right? You have 3 branches of government. And in this case, one branch of government is saying we are not going to let the other branch of government operate the way it should, at least, with a full membership in order to do the work of the court.
And that's what they've been doing the entire 8 years of President Obama's term. They basically have been saying we are not going to, we're not going to get anything done. We're not going to work. We want the president to be a one-term president, which didn't happen.
Right.
They didn't get that wish.
They've tried to shut down the executive branch.
Exactly.
Right? Now shutting down the judicial branch.
So time will tell.
So why don't you sue them, Debbie?
Well, it's interesting. There is, I think there's been talk about that. There was an article in the Washington Post, and I think that could ultimately backfire, not so much against the Republicans, but against President Obama, because if that were to happen, I do think that Garland, the nominee, would probably withdraw his name.
All right. Lots of stuff to cover. Lots of good to catch up with you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Bill.
Again, legalspeaks.com, Debbie Hines. And I'll be right back with a parting shot.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, you just watch. On November 8th, when Bernie Sanders is elected President of the United States, the Clinton campaign will put out a press release stating that Bernie may have scored another victory, but the math is still stacked against him. And the media will dutifully report it, just like they did again this weekend. Yep, Bernie won the Wyoming caucuses, 8 out of the last 9 contests, and yet every media outlet ended their report on Bernie's latest victory by adding, but it's still impossible for him to win. Nonsense. They've been saying that for months, and what keeps happening? Bernie keeps winning, and Hillary keeps losing. Look, who knows who's going to be the eventual nominee? But we know this. This race is a hell of a lot closer than we ever thought it would be. And we know that politics is not just about math. It's about energy, momentum, and enthusiasm. And right now, all the energy and enthusiasm and momentum is on Bernie's side. That's my parting shot for today. Folks, have a great Monday. Come back and see us tomorrow.
This
We'll be
is
looking
The
for
Bill
you.
Press Show.